Well, as you all know, this is the 8th annual Face of Hope Breakfast for Little Red Door Cancer Agency. This is an agency I know you all know that's been around for a long time and does extremely good things in our community. And I love their line, their credo here. They truly do make the most of life and the least of cancer. And that is what this is really all about. So I hope you've had a chance to chat with some of the table captains that are at your table. They're there to sort of help you understand what Little Red Door is all about. So I'm going to ask the table captains right now, if you would, please stand in case someone's not sure of who you are, but you have a job, and we want to thank you for doing that job. You know, they're there really to tell you about the success and the stories about the agency. They're an important part of this organization, so thank you. We are also thrilled to have all of you here today to learn more about the Little Red Door and the line that I love here, making the most of life and the least of cancer. And we have a very important and I think very interesting program here. I think you're going to enjoy this. It's going to move, so stay with it, because there's lots of things going to be going on. But right now, I do want to bring up the director and CEO, Fred Duncan, for a few more comments about this morning, but I do want you to keep tuned in. This is a big event, and it's going to move. So, Fred, come on up.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 8th Face of Hope Breakfast. I'd like to extend a special welcome this morning to Lieutenant Governor Sue Ellspermann and Secretary of State Connie Lawson and all the other state and city public officials and public servants who are here with us this morning to spend their time with us. We're really grateful for that. I'd also like to echo Debbie's comments thanking the table captains. You know, this morning we crossed a really significant milestone in that there are more than 1,000 of you here this morning. Which, yeah, it's a very, I've been saying for 2 or 3 years now, I want to get to 1,000. So I don't know what I'm going to say next year, what our goal is going to be, because we've managed to get to our 1,000 mark. And we can't do that without table captains. It's the table captains who are really the backbone of this event and who really make this event successful, and we're really grateful to you for that. Another group that I always like to thank and recognize here at the breakfast is our board of directors. Many of you have heard me say over and over again, and I'm sincere about this, that the Little Red Door board is the best board in the entire city. And part of what makes them so exceptional is that they're really humble. And if I didn't make our board stand up this morning for some recognition, they would never seek it on their own. So at this time, I'm going to ask both our current board members and our former board members, because we've had such a great history, if they would stand and let me say thank you, and I'd ask you to join me in saying thank you to our board. A board member at Little Red Door is elected to a term of 3 years, and they are able to serve 2 consecutive 3-year terms. Our annual meeting is in March every year, and we have a kind of unusual tradition in that we bring the new board members in to the same meeting where we are saying goodbye to our retiring board members. Because with 6-year terms, we're always losing folks. And it's a bittersweet event for us because we're losing awesome people that we love, while at the same time we're bringing new people who are awesome that we love on also. And so it's a big room. There's a lot of people there. Our board meets during lunch, so there's a lot of wrestling of paper and a lot of talking, a lot of action, kind of like family dinner. And we play we have a little get-to-know-you exercise. Sure, roll your eyes, because they do. And you know what? I don't care if they roll their eyes. So you can roll your eyes the 3rd Wednesday in March of this next year in solidarity with them. But we go through this little exercise, and the exercise is pretty straightforward. We ask board members to answer 2 questions. The first is sort of a throwaway question. They pick it out of a basket that goes around the room. They're all different. And it's questions like, tell us what flavor of ice cream you would be if you were an ice cream. Yeah, or tell us what your superpower would be if you could be a superhero. We have some fun with that, and we learn a little bit. But it's the second question that really, really matters. And the second question is, why do you want to serve on the Little Red Doors board? Serving on the Little Red Doors board is pretty costly. Our board members make a generous personal contribution. We ask them to help us facilitate sponsorship proposals. They're captains of tables this morning. We have one board member this morning who has upwards of 40 guests. And oh, by the way, we're pushing them to serve on committees, so they're on the finance committee making sure that our finances are good. They're making sure we're organizationally strong. They're helping us interpret the Affordable Care Act to figure out how it affects our programs and what does our new strategic plan look like. And oh, by the way, we need a new handbook. Can somebody on the board write our new handbook? And oh, by the way, the building's got a problem. We don't know what to do with it, so we need somebody to help with the building. Sort of constant pressure for them. So I'm always worried, I'm always wondering, why does a person volunteer? Why does a person step forward and say, I want to do that? I'm willing to sort of take that on. And we get that with the why question. And the why question has a pretty common theme. And the theme starts in one of two stories. Either a board member says, I had cancer. We have a few cancer survivors, probably fewer than you would guess that we have. But we do have a few cancer survivors. But much more common, the person says, somebody I really cared about had cancer. My mom, my dad, my husband, my wife, my brother, my sister, my kid. And I went with them when they were going to treatment. And I'd sat in the waiting room. And while I was in the waiting room, it would occur to me that there were people who I could tell were sleeping in their car, and they were taking sponge baths in the hospital bathrooms, and they were skipping meals because they couldn't afford to eat in the cafeteria. And I said, when we get through this, I'm going to go and help people who need to get through this journey. It's a really powerful and empathetic statement. When we get through this, I'm going to go and help people get through the journey. Because our board members understand that nobody is self-sufficient when they're going through cancer. Everybody needs help when they're going through cancer. Some folks more than others. And I know when I hear that story from a board member that they have found the right place. Because at the Little Red Door, we're not doing research to cure cancer. We're not trying to influence public policy in a big way. At the Little Red Door, what we're trying to do is help people get through the journey. We're trying to get them to treatment. We're going to make 13,000 trips this year getting folks back and forth to treatment. We're trying to keep enough nutritional supplements to them that they can maintain a healthy body weight. More than 20,000 meals this year we're going to provide to cancer survivors. We're sending kids to camp who have cancer. We're putting wigs on women who can't afford a wig so that they can feel better about themselves and go on about their job. Because most of our folks are not trying to move up a ladder of self-sufficiency. Most of the people we meet were already self-sufficient. They were doing what all the rest of us are doing. They were going to work, they were going to school, they were taking care of their parents, they were taking care of their kids, they were doing all the things they were supposed to be doing, and all of a sudden they have this cancer diagnosis, and all of a sudden, if they don't have help, everything unravels for them. Everything unravels. And so they're no longer self-sufficient. So our goal at Little Red Door is to get them through. We want them to come out the other end of treatment in roughly the same place that they went into treatment. And our board completely gets that. They understand that that's what we're doing at the Little Red Door and that that's what matters for us. Over the next few days, I'm going to receive notes from a bunch of you. And you're going to tell me things like, I made a gift to you because there weren't any centerpieces, so I know you're going to be a good steward with my money. True story. And yes, we are good stewards. You're going to tell me that you gave a gift because we were timely and we were respectful of your time this morning. You're going to tell me that you gave a gift to the Little Red Door because some friend or colleague asked you to come this morning and you did it. And that's great. You guys can tell me that. But I don't believe any of that. I believe everyone who's here this morning wants to support the Little Red Door because you probably had a similar experience. You understand what it's like to go with or to carry a loved one through a cancer experience, and you want to help other people do that better. I know that because this is the 7th time I've come here this morning to speak to this group, and not once have I been disappointed in the response that I get from you. I have always been honored and humbled at how much the people in this room care about us and how much the people in this room are willing to do to help us make the most of life and the least of cancer for those, our friends and neighbors, who are a little less fortunate, perhaps, than we are. We have a really great program this morning. At the agency, we've been teary-eyed for weeks as we read the client stories and meet the people that we're going to introduce you to this morning. I hope you will enjoy the program, and I hope you know how very grateful I am and how grateful everyone at the Little Red Door is for all you do to help us along the way. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the morning.
Thank you, Fred. All right, here's a couple of little things to think about now. Little Red Door Cancer Agency. This agency, why you're here, has served more than 22,000 women and men in our community in the last year alone. 22,000. In their 70 years, yeah, it is worth an applause. That's 22,000 people. And talk about longevity. This organization's been together for 70 years, and they have worked tirelessly to help those in need. We just heard about that from Fred. Thank you, Fred, again. Over the next several minutes, everybody here is going to be taken on kind of a journey, and you're going to get a glimpse of the real world behind Little Red Door and what they do every day. And after the videos and after some of the speeches, I think you're going to have an incredible perspective on what Little Red Door does in our community here in Central Indiana. So to start off our journey today, please enjoy this short video from Kevin, whose ties to Little Red Door run deep.
I was 2 years old at the time, and it was acute lymphocytic leukemia. My early memories revolve around just lengthy hospital stays, the frequency of bone marrows and spinal taps, and then there were periods of time where I got secondary illnesses because of suppressed immune system. So I had a pneumonia case for a long time and hospitalized for several months, and then just being in and out of school. So it put a little strain on trying to figure out how to, I guess, just be a kid. I started at Camp Little Red Door in 1983. I was 10 years old at the time. And I think I attended for 2 years, 83 and 84. A couple of the kids in particular there were also the same group of kids that I would see regularly at Riley Hospital. So that was comforting, you know, knowing you're going through this treatment with some kids and you see them on your same clinic day. You're both here for the chemo, you're both here for bone marrow today, you're both here for a spinal tap, whatever happens to be. And then, you know, then the summer, you get to go be a kid and hang out with them, having fun. The counselors who are the regular counselors in my cabin, the time they spent with us teaching us, you know, things that kids just love to learn about. We went fishing, taught us how to, you know, prep the fish, and we cooked it over an open fire right down there at the beach. We had our zip line or obstacle course, which was a you know, mental and a physical pick-me-up and challenge for the kids, which we really liked, to give us a sense of accomplishment. We could do things, and fun emotional release for a lot of our tough times that we've gone through, either through school or, you know, just with our medical treatments. There are experiences in life that they can participate in that bring happiness and joy and provide them a different part of life outside of maybe the routine of hospital visits, doctors, shots, and tests. And I think that's important to kind of show both sides of it, that there's a chance to let a kid be a kid.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great sharing your story with us. I know we probably all have some similar experiences if you've ever known anyone who's battled cancer. That was great. So it's now my distinct privilege to welcome another Little Red Door client up on stage with me. Renee is one that you will never forget, we understand, and we're thrilled that she's willing to share her journey with us today. Please join me in welcoming Renee Wright and her trusty companion, Emmett, to the podium. There's some steps right there, yeah. Emmett's a little not so sure about going up these stairs, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Emmett's doing well, and you're doing well, too. Okay, so we're going to have you stop right here, and we're going to have you grab onto the podium right here, okay? All right. It's all yours, kid.
Am I in front of the microphone? Yes. Yay! Good morning, everybody. My name is Renee Wright, and Little Red Door has asked me to come speak to you this morning, and apparently they think I have something interesting to tell you. So I'm hoping that those public speaking classes I took in college pay off here and I don't bore you too much. So I know that I'm speaking to donors that will make contributions of all sizes, big, small, in between. So I want to start by giving you a little quote that I think is very relevant to this situation. I got tickled with it when I read it. So anyone who thinks that they're too small to make a difference has never tried to fall asleep with a mosquito in the room. I thought that was kind of funny, and I'd share it with you. How true, huh? So I am going to start telling you here about my cancer journey. It began in the spring of 2014. I was in my graduate program at IUPUI, getting ready to walk in my commencement to earn my master's in social work. I was very excited. I had huge plans for my life. I had worked really hard to get to the point where I was. Well, on April 10th of 2014, cancer had different plans for me. I was diagnosed with stage 3 invasive ductal carcinoma breast cancer. And as I said, my plans were about to change. Like most college students, I was strapped for cash. I didn't have very many job prospects, and who was going to want to hire a blind woman with breast cancer anyway? So I just decided from that point, despite whatever my reservations were, whatever my doubts were, that I was going to face this beast head on, win or lose. So you know what? I walked through my commencement, I earned my diploma, and my hair fell out the following week from my first chemo. So here I was, bald, didn't have money for a wig. I had this huge thing called a port sticking out of my chest. I felt ugly. I felt alone. I felt afraid. I was terrified that maybe not only would I not be able to work, that I might get really sick and die. So I want to tell you how Little Red Door and your donations make a difference in people's lives. For me, Little Red Door helped me with my self-esteem and my self-confidence. It helped me, the donations and kindness helped me feel special and just kind of normal. And Little Red Door gave me access to vital cancer treatment. And Emmett's not behaving himself. I apologize. He is always the show stealer. I always have played second fiddle to Emmett, always. Always will. So let's see. The first way that Little Red Door really helped me was in my self-confidence. My first visit to Little Red Door, I was greeted by a really perky Dawn. I don't know where Dawn is. If she's in the room, I'm thinking she might be. And Dawn took me back to the Little Red Door wig salon, and we just played like little girls in there, let me tell you. We tried on all kinds of wigs, and we found just such a really cute style for me. I went out of there feeling really good about myself, let me tell you, really good. The very next day, I had a job interview with a panel of 7. Tell me that's not pressure. But you know what? I felt so darn good about myself, I rocked that interview. I told them that cancer was no more than a mustard stain on my blouse. And by golly, if they hired me, I'd be the best darn employee they'd ever seen. And you know what? They were silly enough to hire me. And here I am a year and a half later. I work as a vocational rehabilitation counselor with Family and Social Services Administration with the state of Indiana. And I have the absolutely marvelous opportunity of helping other people that have disabilities find meaningful employment. So the second way that Little Red Door and your kindness helped me was just to feel special. When a few days after my visit to Little Red Door and my wig fitting, I came home, there's this huge box on my front porch, and I thought, what is this all about? What is this? I open it up, and that box is full of, oh my goodness, bubble bath and lotion and wig care supplies and lip gloss and just all kinds of girly girl stuff. And many of the ladies in the room, we know how we feel about our hair and fingernails. But at the top of this box was this wonderful blanket. It's really this luxurious blanket, and that blanket kept me warm during chemo treatment. And you know, I still cuddle up with that blanket, and it's a huge source of comfort to me even now. And I would say the third and probably the most significant thing that Little Red Door did for me, we know that you probably have guessed I don't drive. It would be a little dangerous if they gave me a license. My supervisor was kind enough to give me every Tuesday off while I was in chemo. However, when it came time for radiation, my supervisor sat down with me and said, look, you know, you only have so much time. You can't leave any earlier than 2 every day. So I arranged my cancer treatments for 3, and I thought, man, I guess I'll just have to take a cab. And I mean, I'm broke. I've just started a new job. How am I going to afford this? Well, I reached out to Dawn at Little Red Door, and I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Well, you know, she made it easy. She said, don't worry about a thing, Renee. We'll get you there. Well, she arranged 25 trips to and from the Simon Cancer Center for me to get radiation treatment. I had only expected a ride 2. This was just over the top. It was so generous, and it was a lifeline for me because I would have never, ever been able to get to cancer treatment on the public transportation system. So that, I am just forever grateful. And I would like to say, as I finish up this speech, that I only wish that I would have known about Little Red Door when I first found my cancer. When I first felt the lump in my left breast, it was the size of about a grape. I found it in a shower. I tripped, of course, and I went and got a mammogram and ultrasound, and they said, oh, that's not cancer. They even sent it to a second radiologist. They said, that's not cancer. You have nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. Come back in 6 months, and we'll just follow up. It's routine. Well, that little venture cost me close to $700. And it was money I just didn't have at the time. I didn't have good health insurance. It took me months to pay it off. So I decided, it wasn't cancer, so I'll just wait till my next year's mammogram. Well, during that time, that lump grew from the size of a grape to the size of a lemon. And it was going up under my armpit into my lymph nodes and spreading fast. So I know the Little Red Door offers free screenings, and I think this is vital to people because people that don't have good insurance and limited means, it's vital. My cancer could have killed me, and had I known about those screenings, I darn sure probably would have participated in it. So I would like to just close by thanking each and every one of you, no matter what size your donation or how you contribute to Little Red Door, because it makes such a huge impact on people's lives. It did on mine. And I have to express my gratitude. I got the best care in the world from my team of physicians at Eskenazi and Simon and our great God in heaven. And I am overjoyed to say that I'm in remission today. Thank you.
Can I help you?
I'm trying to find the door.
You got him? Hi, Emmett. Yeah, he likes it. He's enjoying it. You got it? Okay. Thank you. One more round of applause for Ms. Renee Wright. Pretty amazing, and Emmett too. When people need help and they don't know where to go, they do call, as you just heard, the Little Red Door. Little Red Door, as I mentioned, directed more than 22,000 people to services that they can use while going through their cancer journey. Here is one more of those stories.
At Little Red Door, we make surviving cancer possible for those in almost impossible situations.
During the year of 2007, I lost over 80% of my income, and I found myself in the Great Recession before a lot of other people found themselves in it. And unfortunately, I was forced to give up my apartment where I'd lived for over 20 years in February of 2008 and became homeless and started my journey into homelessness.
And then I just looked at him in, stunned amazement, and looked at my daughter-in-law, and then we just both cried. And I just kind of banged my fist on the table and said, I am not going through this and be financially devastated. This is where I'm at with my life. My husband of 10 years just filed for divorce. I have no job, no home, no insurance.
And when you're dealing with cancer and the doctors are telling you that your emotional state is very important during this, your nutrition is very important during the treatment of this, it just makes things much more difficult, especially when you're alone.
When you've, been given such a heavy diagnosis, to be able to figure out how you're going to make your life work, how you're going to be able to go forward and fit all those pieces of the puzzle together, it can be almost overwhelming.
I reached out to the Susan G. Komen organization, and they told me about Little Red Door. So I made the contact with Little Red Door, a navigator by the name of Dawn.
She asked what my needs were, and I told her my situation, and I told her I desperately needed to find transportation, reliable transportation to and from Simon Cancer Center to undergo my radiation treatments. And I said, I can't start my radiation treatments until I get everything put into place.
What we do here is try to take away that burden. We're gonna, make those calls we need to make. We want to say, hey, we're gonna give you a ride to treatment. We're gonna take that off of you. Don't worry about that anymore. We're gonna take that on. I have one client right now who's lost like 30 pounds in the past 2 months. and keeps on losing weight and is having trouble keeping that on. Well, here's some Ensure or Boost. We can take that burden on as well. We can take that away. Don't worry about this anymore. If you've lost your hair and you're worried about how are you going to go to work every day, is everyone going to know? Maybe it's just not something you want to talk about every day. We have, a great wig selection. We have, mini hats, and you take some time to focus on yourself.
Thank you. I can. Looks better now. I'm so happy.
I want to try and make this part easier for them so that they can really focus on getting well.
I can honestly say that if it had not been for the little red door that was nice enough to provide me with transportation and a taxi cab, both to and from my radiation treatments, I don't think I would be sitting here having this conversation.
Then, February 2nd of 2015, I went back to work and I got back out on my own in my own place. At this point in my life, my surgery is scheduled, my reconstruction, for January 11th, and that'll be 10 days before my 60th birthday.
People will come in and say, thank you, you helped my mom 30 years ago. Or, my sister was helped with you in 1960. And it's kind of amazing to think that they carried that with them their whole life. And they bringing me this story, and I got to be a part of one of those stories.
So you can see it's really all about helping people at their most vulnerable time. That's really what we're all about here today, all 1,000 of us, which is like looking out at an army here. It's pretty incredible. Well, let me share a couple other things with you. Little Red Door has answered more than 20,000 calls just this year, and it made 19,000 calls of help to clients. I'd like to introduce now Maria Bennett, to bring her up. Maybe that's her right there. Maria is 13 years old and has been a returning camper to Camp Little Red Door. We've done stories about that. She's going to tell us now about the impact that Camp Little Red Door has had on her life. So please join me in welcoming Maria. Can I help you? Are you all set? Nice seeing you. Have a seat.
We have a little saying in my family, make each day an adventure. So when I was little, after school time, weekends, or any day my dad was off work, we'd travel to various places and do all the things that little kids love to do. We'd visit zoos, go horseback riding, take hikes through parks, visit different museums, or just have a picnic in the park. Since our last name is Bennett, we called these mini trips Benadventures, and it was some of the best memories of my life. But that all changed on April 15th, 2012. On that day, nearly 3.5 years ago, my life changed forever with my diagnosis of leukemia. That day meant the start of a new journey for me and for my family. Throughout that first week at Riley Children's Hospital, I had the surgery to put in my port, I had my first bone marrow biopsy to identify the type of leukemia I had, ALL, and I started my first round of chemotherapy. While all the time feeling scared and alone, there were bright moments throughout that week. Friendly and reassuring nurses, a knowledgeable and determined team of doctors, and a nightly visit from the little magic castle that brought gifts to my hospital room. I learned quickly that first week, this was to be my new Benadventure. Following that first week, we returned home from Riley's to finish the remainder of my 2.5-year journey at Memorial Children's Hospital in South Bend. The first year was rough. Limits were placed on me due to my dwindling white blood cells, and I spent more days in the hospital than school. While I was always surrounded by people who cared deeply for me, I longed to be outside, to play soccer, to see my friends, and to just be a normal kid. Then one day at the hospital for a routine visit, my dad noticed a brochure for a camp at Bradford Woods, Camp Little Red Door. Like so many things in my cancer journey, we didn't know a thing about it. Glancing at the brochure and the website, it was right up my alley. Horseback riding, swimming, hiking, archery, and the best part of all, I would be doing all these activities, surrounded by kids who really understood my journey, and surrounded by a team of nurses and doctors who could monitor my medications. That part made my parents very happy. So my parents made some quick calls to understand how to register, filled out some paperwork, and waited for an answer. Then the next thing I knew, I was going to camp. We began the endless task of labeling everything I owned, from socks to shampoo bottles, and then we were bound for Bradford Woods. I don't think kids ever forget their first day at camp. The check-in process, going table to table, looking around just wishing I knew a face in the crowd, finding my cabin, picking out my bed, and unpacking my stuff. While I felt nervous and scared about being on my own, I was quickly pulled into the group by the cabin head, and before I knew it, these strangers became my new best friends. Camp was turning out to be the best experience of my life. I didn't want to leave or say goodbye to these new friends. Camp Little Red Door was definitely going to be an annual event. My second summer felt like I was coming home. I knew just what to pack, I breezed through the check-in process, and I ran to my cabin to look for familiar faces. Several faces stood out, but one person in particular became my new best friend, and that was Caroline. From that day forward, every activity, every meal, every picture taken at camp, where there was me, there was Caroline. We were inseparable. And just when I thought camp couldn't get any better, that same year I was honored to win the Virginia Wagner Spirit Award, named after the founder of Camp Little Red Door. This past summer, my third season, I attended with my little brother Philip. Well, I guess you could say that was probably more my parents' idea than mine. But I noticed something as Philip was playing with his new friends and swimming in the lake and riding horses through the trails, that, while I thought cancer was just mine, I realized at that moment that Philip was just as affected by my cancer as I was. His adventures stopped too. Camp Little Red Door was some place he needed just as much as I do. During this last camp, I finally had enough hair and enough courage to participate in the hair cutting ceremony. My brother and my best friend Caroline cut 8 inches off my hair. While this is something kids don't do at other summer camps, for cancer patients, it's our time to unite, to make a choice about our hair, rather than the chemotherapy making it for us. We talk about our cancer journeys and end the ceremony with the lighting of yellow paper lanterns. It's this ritual that makes Camp Little Red Door so different. You just can't do these meaningful things at other camps. Thank you.
Everyone, in 10 years, this is my replacement, Maria Bennett. Little girl, you just stole the show. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing your story. Good job. Well, okay. Caught me off guard. You're so good. I'm just recovering now. Okay. Thank you, Maria, very much for sharing your story, and thank you for being so brave. Terrific. Well, Camp Little Red Door is one of the most time-honored programs for the organization that we're talking about today here. It's been around for 30 years. About 100 children, just like Maria, who are currently going through cancer treatment or have had cancer, come to that camp every year. So I think you're really going to enjoy a very short video now that we have about the experiences that a lot of other kids have at Camp Little Red Door.
Tonight we have our haircutting ceremony, which it started in 2009, and we've continued the tradition till now, and it's to help be there for campers that don't have as much hair as everybody else because they're going through treatment still, and it's kind of a way to everybody bonds together, and it's a really sentimental ceremony, and we like to keep the tradition going.
I was in the hospital one day for treatment. My doctor, I heard them discussing with my parents about Camp Little Red Door and asking if I would like to go.
It's just important to kind of give kids energy and know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Camp Little Red Door is a very empowering camp, and it's amazing to see changes that the kids go through in a week and how much they support each other. They have a lot of stress outside of camp sometimes, and so this is a time for them to just be a kid and to hang out with their family or their friends that they bring, or even make new friends here and be able to make those connections or find commonalities amongst campers.
When you have to talk about something like past or something where you were dealing with cancer, everyone knows what you're talking about because either someone has had cancer or is going through cancer, and so you are able to relate to everyone, and you're just able to get stuff off your chest, like, because some things I haven't even told my parents that I've told campers here, so it's just really, really special.
First time I was here when I had my tube in. I couldn't go swimming enough. I couldn't go swimming, so this time I don't have my tube, so I say, bring it on. I want to see if I can do it. I'm going to see if I can just go at it.
Thank you for everything that you allow these kids to do, and thank you for giving them the opportunity to be kids and to have the time of their life at camp.
What sweet faces and spirits. It's really all about power and hope, and that's what Little Red Door is all about. Well, without further ado, I'd like to bring up Byron Litt to the stage. Byron?
Well, good morning, friends. I am Byron Litt, and I serve in the oncology business unit at Eli Lilly, and I'm fortunate enough to serve as a board member on the Little Red Door. Collectively in this room, we know a lot about cancer, and it's a complicated thing. I know personally that the biology of cancer can be frustratingly complicated, and lives become complicated when cancer is introduced. But there's a simple, common truth. No matter who you are, what walk of life you're in, you want one thing when you or a family member is diagnosed with cancer, and that's hope. For many of us, we want hope that we can receive the best cancer care possible. We have hope for remission. We have hope for cure. But as you heard the stories this morning, it's clear that many of the clients at the Little Red Door have hope on a different scale. They hope that they have access to transportation just to get to and from treatment. They hope they have the means to be able to pay their utility bills when bearing the burden, the financial burden cancer brings. And in some instances, folks hope that they can meet their basic nutritional needs when going through their walk with cancer. So while there's a simple common truth that we have a need and a want for hope, hope is a relative thing. And so I'd ask you to consider that this morning. As you consider your gift, make your pledge, make your check with intent as if you are extending hope to an individual, because in fact you are. So at this time, I'll ask the table captains if they would pass out the pledge forms to their tables. I'll give you a minute to do that, and I want to make a couple additional comments while you're doing that. Last year, I couldn't see a thing when I got to the podium, so I brought my cheaters this year. As you take a look at the pledge form, last year I took some time to outline really what your dollars would do, how Little Red Door could put those dollars to work, And so I wanted to do that again this year. So as you take a look at the pledge form and you see the different levels of giving, as you see the Face of Hope Society for a $1,000 commitment in this upcoming year, you'll be able to extend 20 care packages to patients who are newly diagnosed with cancer. You heard Renee describe that this morning, how important it is and how important it remains for her. At the President's Circle level of a $2,500 gift, you can sponsor 100 trips to and from treatment. And if you're listening, you heard Fred mention earlier that Little Red Door will extend 13,000 trips to and from treatment in this year. Last night I had a text exchange with Nick Duvall just to clarify this, and last year Little Red Door extended 9,800 trips. So you can get a sense of the magnitude of need and the growth of need in this space alone. At the Chairman's Circle, a $5,000 gift, you can extend 50 mammograms. The women who are seeking these mammograms, many of them have reason to believe that they need to seek the diagnostic. And at the Founder Circle level, a gift of $10,000 can extend an experience to Camp Little Red Door, like you heard this morning, to 5 kiddos who may not have been able to afford it otherwise. And so I hope those examples help you understand exactly where your hard-earned dollars are being put to work, because they work well at Little Red Door. So I shared those levels of giving, but not everybody may be at that level. Gifts of $500, $250, $150 are important because they stack up quickly in a room of this size. As you're completing your forms, do note that the donations are payable throughout the year if you'd like to do that. If you're making your donations through the United Way or a family fund or other means, be sure to make a note in the margin to the Little Red Door colleagues as you're doing that. That's important. So as they're completed, I'll ask the table host to collect the forms back. Table host, table captains, hang on to those, stuff the pledge forms back in the envelope, and a Little Red Door staffer will be by to pick that up. As you're completing your form today, the Little Red Door does an incredible job of putting this on. Can we ask for a round of applause for the staff at Little Red Door? Little Red Door also wanted to acknowledge some sponsors that are incredibly important in this process, and so it's with gratitude that I'd like to recognize my colleagues at Eli Lilly, the folks at IU Health and Procure, St. Vincent's Cancer Care, the folks at Fifth Third Bank, Oak Tree Financial, Eskenazi Health, Three Hawks Consulting, Ice Miller, and Stuart Myers and Associates. And importantly, this event wouldn't be possible without the help of the Indiana State Fair Commission. So one more round of applause for those sponsors, if you would. I'll turn it back over to Debbie to close, but thank you all very much.
Well, you've heard it. We are an army here. I think we can get some things done with your generosity. And really, we're just about wrapped up. So here are the final words. On behalf of the board and the staff, and especially the clients of Little Red Door who you've been able to meet today, thank you all very much for your time this morning. The mission of the agency centers on helping those who need it the most. We are grateful, very grateful for your generosity today, and we hope that you do have an incredible day. Thank you, and we'll see you back here in 2016.